What's up?
What's up, guys? I'm Chris,
I'm Sean.
and this is the Whiskey Noobs. So we're going to be videoing just a little bit about our whiskey journey. And so we're going to talk a little bit tonight about where we're headed and what we want to do with this channel. Sean, do you want to kick us off on what got you started in whiskey and kind of what led you and I to this point of us wanting to start a channel?
Absolutely. Yeah, so whiskey, let's see. I've been really seriously considering drinking whiskey for about a year and a half now. My wife got me a tour of a local distillery, and that has a lot of history to it. Really enjoyed it. I think it's called Old Nick's, and really piqued my interest in a lot of the history and things that go into whiskey. And then I actually meet the master distiller there, and really understood some of the nuances and the chemistry that goes into it. And from there, I just really started tasting different ones and kind of made it a little hobby, and enjoyed it. And my roots and where my family comes from for about 200 years is in Kentucky, so I thought maybe I would just kind of explore that a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Well, so I guess I should say that me and Sean have known each other for coming up like 14 years now.
Yeah.
And actually kind of keys into the name of our channel a little bit. We both started with a video game company selling video games. Sean actually gave me one of my first serious jobs. And so it kind of keys into the noob piece there a little bit.
Yeah.
The other aspect of it is, at no point are you going to see us pretend to be experts on whiskey. No. We don't want to come across as pretentious. We're here to have fun. This is a fun experiment for us. Yeah. It's a way for us to share our whiskey journey with our friends, with any of the viewers out there, and to really just explore whiskey and see what shenanigans we can get up to going forward. Shenanigans. So for me, whiskey started, I guess I was a big fan of the Whiskey Vault, the channel, probably starting at 3 years back. And I would watch every episode, and then, the Whiskey Tribe episodes, and really getting into it and watching shows about whiskey. And I never up to that point only maybe have had shots of Jameson on conference trips,
right.
So it's not like I've really been into whiskey. The whiskey, let's get this over with, and very much a beer guy, and explored the whole craft beer thing. We got into that a little bit with each other in the past, and so yeah, whiskey was never really on my radar. Well, in April of 2020, last year, my wife was trying to think of something to get me for my birthday. And she knew that I had mentioned Four Roses, and actually had made a habit of buying Four Roses for a friend of mine whenever we would go over to a dinner night, I guess. They have us over for dinner, and I'd take a bottle of whiskey. Yeah. And so I would take a bottle of Four Roses. And so she bought me a bottle of Four Roses for my birthday, and little did she know that she would kick off one of the most expensive hobbies that I've had. And I've had some pretty expensive hobbies, so it's been interesting. So for me, whiskey has been really last year in April, starting off with one bottle, and I think maybe coming up to a total count of 34 bottles, and we're not even a year in yet.
I mean, the COVID situation, that had a little bit to do
Well,
with
yeah,
that,
true. There's nothing else to do but drink. Yeah, and I don't think Sean's helped very much with that either, because
surprise bottles.
Yeah, you bring bottles over, and then I buy you bottles, and so yeah, we're feeding each other's bad habits a little bit. And we were joking that I think it's probably not a good thing, but I probably have drank more alcohol in the past year, not even year, than I have in my entire life. And it, coming on 32, you got 11 years there of drinking age.
Yeah,
that's saying something, I feel like. So, but yeah, I've been having fun with it, and I'm looking forward to doing some fun stuff on this channel. I want you, Sean, to talk a little bit about what we're planning to do with the person who's going to eventually sit here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole premise of our name, I guess you'd say. So, one of the things we thought would be really cool is to help people get kick-started on their journey with whiskey. So our goal is to bring on some guest people that are not necessarily whiskey fans, maybe some beer drinkers, maybe some people that just don't, normally really think about the nuances of whiskey.
Oh yeah, I can think of a couple folks whose jam is Miller Lite that I'm really excited to get some whiskey in front of.
And we have some people in mind. And so our goal is to really just, get somebody here that is just a fresh slate to try it and get that honest experience right here. The faces, the smells, everything, and just get their feedback at the same time. We'll probably talk about a little bit how we feel about it. And by no means will we ever be whiskey experts on here.
Oh no. I don't think that's a thing.
No.
I really don't. I think there's so much to learn from whiskey and so much to explore that I don't think you really ever. If you master whiskey, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Like I'm not interested. If I can ever say that I've mastered whiskey, then that's probably the day that I move on to something else, and that's not exciting.
That'll be our last episode.
Yeah, exactly. So we do plan on doing some fun stuff with guests specifically. And we know some pretty interesting characters, and so we're kind of looking forward to sharing those folks with you, and really getting them in front of a camera for a first time. So for me, I do this a little bit from a woodworking perspective. That I make videos, so I'm kind of used to being in front of a camera. It's going to be fun doing it with Sean because I've not done something across the table from someone else, and then to bring someone else in who's never done anything like that, and then to put them on the spot. And we're going to try to do as little editing with these videos as possible.
Live.
Yeah. And we're definitely planning some live streams and just more or less just so that we can capture our hangouts and what we're doing and where our whiskey journey is going and what we're tasting, what we're drinking. Yeah. And we've got some fun experiments that we want to do. I know we've talked about some other spirits. Yeah. I'll let you talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
And then we've also talked about doing some whiskey tours. And we really think that we have, an opportunity to share some of the local stuff. We're from the Piedmont of North Carolina. It's basically the central part of North Carolina.
Between the mountains and the beach.
Yeah, exactly. And so we've got tons of opportunity for distilleries here in North Carolina. And then we want to, I guess COVID pending, for this year to take a trip up and do the Kentucky Bourbon Trail.
That's a goal.
So that's a goal. But maybe you want to talk a little bit about the fact that we do have some other spirits in mind we'd like to try out maybe in the near future and talk a little bit about.
Yeah, so I think one of our goals, we came up with this one night on a what we call a tasting night that sometimes can last till about 2 or 3 in the morning.
Tasting is an excuse to drink lots of whiskey.
It is, yeah. But I think the thing that we came up with is there are a lot of different experiments we can do, and we'll probably share one of those a little later, kind of a spoiler here. The other thing is, there's a lot of history with where whiskey came from all over the world. I think one of the things we're looking at is neither one of us are big Scotch drinkers. Not because we don't respect it, not because we don't really necessarily like it. I just don't think we've gotten there yet. So I think maybe our goal is to introduce some Scotches to ourselves on camera.
I'm going to speak up because I know why I'm not a Scotch fan. It's because I've not tried a lot of Scotch.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I've not tried a lot of Scotch. When you explain bourbon to someone, you use tasting notes like vanilla,
brown sugar,
caramel, brown sugar,
dark fruit,
candy.
right.
When you use tasting notes for Scotch, iodine,
moss,
campfire,
peaty,
dirty underwear.
Swampy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you want to drink anything that has those tasting notes? Right. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I will acquiesce that I have not tried lots of Scotch. And that two Scotches. Yes, I've had 2 Scotches.
Yeah.
I won't mention those. I'm not going to bash on them. One was okay. It might have been my brother's wedding, and I might have been lots of whiskeys in, and I can't even tell you what it tasted like. The other, I don't want to slander. We're not even going to talk about it, but let's just say there's a lot of you out there that know this word is associated with that whiskey, and it is funky. Yeah. So anyway, that's not to say that we don't want to try Scotch, and I think we definitely want to try Scotch. I think I'm very interested in Japanese whiskey.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we both dabbled a little bit in Irish whiskey. Ultimately, I think that we just prefer the bolder flavors that we get from American whiskey. I hate to say we're proof snobs. We're not necessarily proof snobs, but we are finding that we enjoy the flavors in the punch we get from higher proof whiskeys.
I agree. I like to consider that a vehicle. Like the proof is a vehicle that carries some of the flavors, and which I enjoy.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I think that's kind of going to be the chase a little bit for me going forward when I'm looking for bottles.
And I did some little research the other day, and I'm interested in cognac. You know, I think not to spend a lot of time on that, and but I'm interested in the history of that. That's got a very rich history, especially in Europe. And
I mean, you catch my interest when you say aged. In barrels. I mean, like, it sounds like whiskey to me. Like,
absolutely. So we'll have an episode where we taste our first cognac, and try that out, see what we think. It's our first, maybe our third Scotch, and kind of go from there. And so we want to branch out and just experiment. We're whiskey noobs, like we're not going to claim to ever be experts, and we're gonna just let you guys see our journey from this point on. And no editing, no holds barred. We're just going to do it,
So I'm not going to drag this video out any longer. Again, I'm Chris.
I'm Sean.
And I'm going to refill this glass, and we'll see you next time. Nailed that.